What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Bible study. It's not really a study today, but if you can't tell by the title, I'm going to be sharing my testimony today. There's a lot that I've left out, and there's a lot that a lot of people don't know. Not even my family knows most of it, so like, if they're watching, hi. I'm gonna do this in full. Yeah, I was looking back at some of the old streams that we had, and two of our members actually shared their testimonies. And I always felt led to, but I didn't know how, and I was trying to write stuff down, and I was doing it for a while. I was trying to write stuff down, figuring out the right things to say, and then I just decided, you know what? Screw that. And I closed out my Word document. I didn't save a single thing, and I'm going in raw. So this is no notes, no anything. I'm kind of just going to talk about what I've been through, how I've gotten to this point, how I walked with Christ, and then I kind of ventured away. We'll get into that. How I kind of ventured away, and then how I've been brought back within the last few months. Yeah, we're just gonna talk for a while. Won't be very long. I'll try to keep this very short. But if you do enjoy, subscribe, I guess. I hate asking for people to subscribe. I feel like that's really corny. But subscribe to the channel so we can get more recommendeds. Share the channel with as many people as you can, and yeah, I'm just gonna dive right into it. So we're gonna skip ahead till I was about 10 to 11 is where we're gonna start, because I don't really remember much before that. The only thing you really need to know from like ages like, I guess 0 to 9 was that I was raised in church. That's really all you need to know. I was raised Baptist. That's all you need to know. So when I turned 10, my walk with Christ got a little bit different. I was understanding more. I always listened to what my pastor had to tell me, but I was listening in more, and I was understanding more of what was going on. And 2014, I believe, was the year Lord Jesus saved me. And I can proudly say that was 10 years ago. I was about 10 or I think I was turning 11 when that happened. And, I was really excited. I was excited to figure out what God was doing for me at such a young age. I was really excited about what was going on. I always sung in the choirs. Me, my mom, and my great grandma always, we always sung, when the choir was done. They would always ask, does anybody else feel led to have a song? We always sung, every single Sunday night. We sung every Sunday night. And those times were awesome. I feel like I was getting into the Lord, and I was letting Him venture me where He wanted me to be led. And then a bunch of stuff with my dad happens. We'll get back to my dad in a minute, but a bunch of things with my dad happen, and then we ultimately leave the church that I was raised in. I was about 13 or 14 when we switched churches, and I was not for it. I was so anti switching churches, and it got to the point to where my mom and dad quit going to church, and like they would force me to go with my grandparents. And I always felt like, well, if they don't have to go, why do I have to go, and it got to that point. And then ultimately they switched churches to one right down the road from me. It was called Freedom, and I wasn't a fan, and it wasn't because of the people in it. I want to make that very clear if you're watching. It's not because of the people in it. It's just because it wasn't the church for me, and I wanted to go back. But I felt like I couldn't go back because, okay, I've already went here and I've already been here and they're already talking about making me a member of this church. Like I felt like I couldn't go back there. So I would stay there. A bunch of drama happens. We're not going to get into it. That's for a different time. A bunch of drama happens at the church, and then ultimately that pastor leaves the church. So within 2 years, we were still looking for churches. We had been to 5 different churches trying to see what fit us. And then Freedom, the person who's actually my cousin, shout out Drew if you're watching, he would step down, and then a guy by the name of Mark Reed took over. Mark Reed had a church in the town, but it was like a rented out building, and like they were looking for a forever home. They knew they weren't staying there very long. They were just kind of there, and then they would move on to their next place. So they took over, and I went every Sunday. I was back in the choir there. And then freshman year of high school, I told my mom, I was like, I don't want to sing anymore. And I feel like this is where my life started going downhill, when I told her I didn't want to sing anymore. And I was kind of being forced to, but not really. I was doing it on my own accord, but I really wasn't feeling it anymore. And I just ultimately was like, you know what? I'm done showing up. That's it. And I told him it was for sports-related reasons. I lied. I just didn't want to do it anymore. So, when I stopped singing in church, and I didn't stop attending, but when I stopped singing in church, I went down a whole rabbit hole of evil things. I was hanging out with a couple of my teammates from the basketball team. If you didn't know, I played that my entire life. And I would go home with them, and I would vape with them. And I wasn't really addicted to nicotine. I'm sorry, my phone just went off. I wasn't really addicted with them. I could control myself with it, but it was just the fact that I was doing it in general. And I felt disgusted with myself for doing it. And then I started getting into pornography. I was big into... I watched pornography a lot. When I wasn't doing schoolwork or I wasn't playing video games, I was watching pornography. And that took control of my life for years. For many years. It kind of just became habit after a while. And I just ultimately quit going into church. I would sleep in. I would act like I was sleeping just so I didn't have to go, because I just didn't want to go. And I was falling down a really bad path. Dad would eventually get hooked back on drugs, and he was in and out of the house. It was a really rough time for me. I really didn't know what to do. I really just stopped talking to everybody. I kind of sheltered myself. I kind of just went home, played my Xbox, did some things, and then went to bed. I mean, that was my daily routine. I really didn't talk to much of anybody from middle school till about my sophomore year. I didn't feel like I could go to anybody about it, so I kind of just hid it to myself, and I just did a bunch of evil, and I talked like really bad about everyone. And it wasn't just about people. I just talked about filthy things in general. Started falling into the wrong crowd, and ultimately I backslid for probably 5+ years. And it really hurt when Dad left, because I had known him my entire life. My actual father wasn't around. He got put in prison when I was about 2. So there's that aspect I forgot about to mention that. But yeah, so he was my stepdad technically, but he adopted me, so he was more of a dad to me than anybody. And when he left, it broke me. And I didn't want to admit it because I wanted to be strong for my mom, but it broke me. And I was just doing more sin and not really doing what I was supposed to. And at one point I was questioning, I was questioning God's worth. And I was questioning why I believed it for all these years, and then this happened to me. And I started to question that quite frequently, actually. And then, so we're going to skip ahead a little bit. I was still in sin. I treated girls very badly. So I was in and out with girls. Just whoever would give me attention, really. I was in and out with them for years. And then when I turned, I believe I was 17, my dad's father, so my grandfather from my dad's side, was diagnosed with cancer. And we knew he didn't have very long. And I saw him a couple weeks before he passed. And that was the first time I had seen Dad in 3 years, probably 2 or 3 years. And it was really awkward when he was there. I wouldn't really talk to him. And 2 weeks later after that, I get the call that I called him Pappy. Pappy had passed away. Probably weeks later. Probably a week or 2 later. And that broke me too. Because he was like, he always caught up with us everywhere we went. He was always like a best friend to me. When I wasn't talking to anybody else, I felt like I could talk to them about what was going on. And he passed. He would watch wrestling with me. If you don't know, I'm a big wrestling head. He would watch wrestling with me. He wouldn't know a single person that was on it, but he watched it because I liked it, and he liked it too. And he passed away, and that probably broke me harder than Dad leaving. And again, at this point, I hadn't talked to really any part of that family for like 3 years, and it still broke me really bad. I was figuring out news about Dad, that Dad was not sober for years while he was there. He had a seizure when he was with us, and that's how he got back addicted. And it was really hard. And I understand I was 16, 17 years old at this point, so I kind of knew what was going on, but it was still really hard for me to understand what was happening. And it was really hard for me to kind of sink in, to let it sink in. And then I met my girlfriend Denise, and once I met her, I started going to church more. And it wasn't she likes to take credit for it sometimes, but I'm not gonna say it wasn't because of her, but I'm not gonna say like most people are like, oh, she brought me back to life, she talked to me about God. No, I went back on my own accord, and then I started going every Sunday. I was back every Sunday. I mean, sometimes I would leave early to go get her, but for the most part, I was there every Sunday morning. and I was there most Sunday nights, and I was there every Wednesday after that happened, and I started getting back into the routine of going to church. And if I wasn't there, I was watching a live stream of somebody else, and I started getting back into the groove of things. I got a job where I'm still employed. I work at Dunkin' with my girlfriend. I've been there for about 2 years, and I love my job. A lot of people don't like it. I love my job. I love the people in it. We cut up all the time, but I started going there, and everything started being really, really good. I was getting back into the Lord, and I was talking less grotesque stuff. And then I get a text 2 days before my birthday from my dad, and he was asking if he could come see me. That he had been clean ever since Pappy was gone, and I think Pappy had been gone for a year and a half at this point. He said he had been clean ever since his dad was gone, and he said he understood if he wasn't allowed to see me, but he knew where I worked and he wanted to see me. And I said yes. And that was probably the first interaction with my father that I had had with him clean in 5 years. Probably even longer than that. Probably 7-8 years. Sorry. That was the first conversation I had had with him clean. And I was really excited. We were talking about, hey, you want to watch this game like in a couple weeks, and you want to go out and eat and stuff. And we were making plans. And then 2 days later, on Halloween, I had just turned 19. I saw him on my birthday. 2 days later, I get a call from Mom. Mom comes in the house, bursting out crying. And she informs me that Dad had died in his sleep. Dad had passed away. He went out peacefully, but he had passed away in his sleep. And I just saw him 2 days before, and he was fine. And he was just gone like that. And so I went to my grandma's house, and I didn't say a word to anybody. I didn't know what to think and how to react. And I hung out with his mom and my brother, who I hadn't seen in a very long time. I hung out with them and his new fiance that I didn't know about. I hung out with them for a couple weeks while we were doing funeral arrangements, because they felt like I needed to be a part of it. And so we did funeral arrangements and everything else. And that, I was doing so good, and then that moment happened, and I backslid again. And what I can take away from all this is how easy it was for me to just turn my back from the Lord. The creator who had given me all these great things, I just turned away from him like that. Once one bad thing happened, I was gone. I wasn't worshiping him anymore. I was talking filthy like I was before that. And it was... So for the third time in my life, I had turned my back on the Lord. And I felt like I couldn't go back. Because I always had the saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, or something, fool me once, shame on me, something like that. It's some sort of that. So I thought, there's no way. And then I get a text from my buddy Evan, who asked us if we wanted to start a Bible study with a bunch of us. And we had talked about doing it before. We had one set up before, and we just never enacted on it. And then I get a text, I think it was in October, that he wanted to start one. And I was at work at the time. Denise likes to go up there sometimes and sit and talk to the coworkers on night shift. So I sat in my car, and the first one we did, I didn't really talk much because I didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't really know much about the Bible anymore. And then something happened. I don't know what it was, but something happened, and it transformed me. I started talking about the Lord again, and it really, really changed my life. I wasn't going back to church because I work on Sundays, but I was watching live streams of some of my friends preaching out and abroad. I was watching some of those. I was listening to like the chapters of the Bible we do for the group studies. I was listening to those at work, and right now I am really growing my faith again. And I won't say I've never been happier, but I feel so blessed. I feel so blessed that all that stuff happened for me to get to this point. And if you're watching this and you're going through something similar to this, not to the exact degree, but if you're going through something like this, I just want to tell you that it's not too late. It is not too late to go back to the Lord. And you know, some people abuse that power. They'll go and sin, and they'll be like, oh, I can just ask for repentance, and then he'll forgive me, and then I can just go do sin again and just keep getting forgiven every single time I sin. And that's not how the Lord works. People think of repenting as like a pass to just go and do whatever, and that's just not how it works. If you're going to repent, you have to show God that you're willing to change. You have to show him that you're willing to put your past behind you and move on. And that's what a lot of young Christians don't understand. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that once you're in and you go back out, you can still turn back. People are like, oh, it's too late for me. You know, I knew a guy, and it's my father actually. I knew a guy who had been on drugs, who had went to church and then backslid and been on drugs for 25 years. And he still went back to the Lord, and he was still forgiven, and he was still, what's the word I'm trying to think of? He was still glorified. And sorry, my phone is going off, so I think that's my time to wrap it up. But I just wanted to share my testimony, share what has happened in my life and where I'm at now. I know it's not the greatest in the world. I probably left out a lot. But this is my testimony. This is what I've been through to get to where I am now. And I wanted to post this to tell people that it's never too late. It's never too late. It's never trying to think of how to word this. It is never wrong. I'm not going to say it's never wrong. Sorry, I'm doing this on the fly. I'm scatterbrained. It is never too late to turn back to the Lord. You know, there's this song, and I encourage everybody to listen to Christian songs and find that one song that really moves you and really really touches your heart. And listen to that, and just think about when you listen to that song. Think about God's glory when you listen to it. And there's a song, and I don't remember all of it, but the chorus of the song, there's a part in it. It says, he didn't stay dead, but he won't stay gone. He didn't stay dead, and that's talking about Jesus. You know, when Jesus resurrected from the dead, he didn't stay dead. Nah, he rose and went up to heaven, but it also says in that song that he won't stay gone. You know, there's another song, it's called Mercy Walked In, and it talks about how this guy was in a courtroom and he was convicted of all these crimes. He did all this stuff, and he knew he was going to jail, and God pleaded his case. And God was the lawyer, and he set the man free from everything that he had done to turn his life over and go thine own way, and live for Jesus. And it's really touching to me, stuff like that. We can do one next week talking about different songs and what they mean, because I really really like Christian music. I know a lot of Christian music and what they mean to me. We can do that on a different episode if that's what y'all want to do. We can talk about different songs. I'm actually going to go ahead and write that down. That's a very good idea. But I said all that to say that it's never too late. If you turn back to the Lord, they call it backsliding for a reason. If you backslid on the Lord and you go back, He has that type of love that will welcome you back in open arms. And He'll just say, welcome back, brother, or welcome back, sister. And He will bring you back in with open arms, and He will take care of you. The Lord will take care of you. He will take care of you. So that is my testimony, and that's the message I wanted to get out. It's a lot longer than I wanted it to be, and I apologize. It's a little bit of a longer start, but I just wanted to share my testimony with everybody and show everybody that you can go through some traumatizing stuff and you can still walk out of it being blessed by the glory of God. And that's kind of where I'm at now. I live with my girlfriend, who is now my fiance. I live with her now. It's not a big house, but it is enough for us. I still am employed at my job that I'm at, that I love. And I'm being blessed every single day. I'm being blessed enough to not have as much school to be able to do this, because I know a lot of people that I know have a lot of school on their plate. They have a lot going on, but I am fortunate enough to not have as much, so I can continue to do this. And yeah, the Lord bless me. The Lord blesses me, and I thank Him for all of it. Take a moment out of your day and thank God for all the many blessings that you've been given, whether it's small or whether it's huge blessings. Just thank Him. Take a moment and just thank Him and rejoice. And that's all I got. I'll quit rambling, but hopefully you got something out of it. Like I said at the beginning, share the stream. We're trying to reach as many devices as possible. And yeah, have a blessed day.